Welcome to Anglesey for rounds 16, 17 and 18 of the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. It's not just the weather that's hotting up though, but the championship battle is as well. As Liam Murphy, Tom Roach and pole position man Luke Herbert are fighting it out for the all-important championship points. It's over to Andy McEwan to take you through the rest of the grid.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. And those are the top three drivers in the championship in reverse order, but it's really all about Luke Herbert versus Tom Roach. Just 13 points separate the two arriving here at Anglesey well into the second half of the season now. Liam Murphy is all on his own really in third, with Johnny Greensmith and Jack Harding likely to fight over fourth place in the remaining rounds. Well, we couldn't really have written a better script for you because those are the top three on the grid for this first race of the weekend. Herbert and Roach share the front row with Murphy and Ben Short on row 2. Jack Harding should be one to watch from row 3 as well as Aidan Hills, whilst Paul Sheard makes a welcome return to the championship alongside Johnny Greensmith on the fourth row. Jake Bailey and Nick Dunn round out the top 10 ahead of Richard Wicklin and Sam Tatler. Brian Chandler one to watch from the 7th row alongside Simon Orange, with Carl Garnett and Simon Fleet on row 8. Row 9 for Nathan Bell and Alistair Kellett. Row 10 Gary Townsend and Alec Livesley. Alex King and Jeremy Crooker next up, then Will Sharp and Duncan Harris on the 12th row. It is a 30-car grid that is rounded out by Alex Miller, George Grant, Greg Catton, Stephen Boyles, Steve Dolman and newbie to the championship Oliver Payne rounds out the field. Well, we have 3 races coming your way this weekend from Anglesey. As you can see, the conditions couldn't be much more perfect for the first race, but we do anticipate that for tomorrow's 2 races, the weather could turn, so the drivers will be wanting to make the most of the dry and sunny conditions here this afternoon. Roach in the green car on the outside of row 1, pole sitter Herbert in the blue on his left-hand side. Who wins the race down towards turn 1? It's a pretty even getaway from the pair of them, but with the inside line for that first corner, I'd imagine that Luke Herbert will likely hold on to the lead. Yes, he does. He just eases Roach a bit wide to defend the position as well. Murphy third, Harding in fourth, then side by side for fifth between, by the looks of it, on the inside line Ben Short and the outside Johnny Greensmith down towards the banking for the first time. A few lockups further back. Let's hope they'll get through cleanly. Certainly the leaders have. Yep, nicely done. 1 or 2 cars run a bit wide further back, but already at the head of the field, the leading 2 are making a bit of a break here with Luke Herbert the leader, Tom Roach in second. Now Roach will really want to go on the attack here as early as possible, get the lead away and try and maybe force Luke Herbert to defend from some cars behind. Roach pulls to the outside line down towards Rocky. He's going to try and go right round the outside here because the next 2 corners are right-handers. He'll have the inside line. He gets eased out onto the edge of the track and Liam Murphy buys into it as well. 3 abreast through the right-hander. Tom Roach easing out wide. He forces Herbert to the edge of the track. That was aggressive racing from Roach, but he'll feel that it's what he has to do to try and claw back that deficit in the championship. So Roach takes the lead. Jack Harding moves through into second place. He's waving furiously at the cars behind him, saying, work with me, don't race me, let's go after Tom Roach, the race leader, because they all know that if you give Roach the lead and a bit of a break, he's likely to pull an even bigger gap down towards the hairpin we come for the first time. We're on the full international layout this time, so we get this extra overtaking opportunity down at the end of the Tom Price straight. Top 2 stay single file there, so it's Roach that leads the way. It's Harding in second. Ben Short has come through into third. Liam Murphy fourth. Greensmith is fifth. So Luke Herbert really did get mugged then. He led going into Rocket, and by the time they came out of that complex, he was all the way down in 6th place. He's immediately trying to fight back though up the inside of Greensmith now in towards the bus stop, and he will go into 5th place before the end of the first lap. But work to be done now for the championship leader, and that really was Tom Roach signalling his intent. There are 3 races here at Anglesey. He wants to win them all, and he wants to try and make sure that Luke Herbert scores as few points as many. And we've seen from the past that Tom Roach is not afraid to use tactics like that to try and edge Luke a little bit further down the order maybe, or edge his championship rivals further down the order and try and swing the points in his favour. Further back, side-by-side battle, that's Richard Wicklin up the inside of Paul Sheard, the 2 grey cars, and Richard will go through, and behind them Brian Chandler is doing battle with pretty much everyone else it seems, just outside the top 10. 1 car runs a bit wide, that's Sam Tatler, the number 66, and so Nick Dunn will go past him in the white number 17 car. This is the battle between Wicklin and Sheard as the leaders are fanning out again. Richard Wicklin has had a really good start, started down in 11th, he's already well inside the top 10 as the leaders turn their way through Rocket for the second time. Roach, Harding and Short just starting to get away now from the 2 blue cars fighting over 4th, and it is now Luke Herbert who's into 4th place, so he made the move on Liam Murphy in towards Rocket. He made it stick, so Murphy down to 5th place now, with Johnny Greensmith behind him. And after a very frenetic first lap of the race, things don't really show many signs of calming down just yet, because Jack Harding will feel like he can win this race. It's been a little while since we've seen Jack on the top step of the podium, and he'll definitely see this as a good opportunity. These three pulling away now from the rest of the field as well, so they're not under too much pressure from the Herberts and Murphys of the grid. So Roach, Harding and Short for the time being dicing over the race lead, and Harding had a really good run out of the hairpin then. He's in the slipstream. Tom Roach doesn't feel the need to defend just yet though, but maybe he should have done, because Jack Harding throws one up the inside. Now, can he get the car stopped? Roach is going to try and get the switch back. There's a bit of contact on the apex of the corner. Roach definitely has his nose up the inside line, side by side down towards the first corner. No, has to back out of it. So Jack Harding goes through into the race lead. We start lap 3 and we have our third different race leader already, but it's not over yet. Roach will try and come back at him if he can. Down into the hairpin they go. Banking though at that corner means that you can carry so much speed into the turn, and the camber of the road sort of catches you and helps turn. Harding, more gesticulations there from him as he now tries to signify to Tom Roach that they should work together. As behind, Paul Sheard seems happy to let people through. Nick Dunn there at the inside in towards Church Corner. So whether it's an issue for Paul Sheard, I'm not too sure. Nathan Bell further back having a nice dice as well, making a move into the quick right-hander. There is Carl Garnett with Brian Chandler just behind him. Carl Garnett moved into the top 10 in the points after a strong showing at Snetterton last time out. This is the midfield battle though, and this is where it gets particularly entertaining. That's number 11 car of Nathan Bell, and he's about to be assaulted potentially up the inside. That was very, very close indeed. Simon Orange that was trying to make a move, and luckily they avoided contact. Back at the lead group, Luke Herbert's now worked his way back into third place at the expense of Ben Short. And now the two championship contenders are right back together. Through the left-hander at Siemens, out over the curb, not over the grass though, because as Johnny Greensmith has just discovered, there's not much grip out there. It may be dry, but it's still not as grippy as the black stuff, and he loses momentum all the way down the next straight. You can see the gap that he's dropped now to the leading quintet, which are still led by Jack Harding now. If Tom Roach decides that defending from Luke Herbert is more important than attacking Jack Harding for the race lead, then this is good news for Jack Harding, because he should be able to pull away, and that certainly seems to be the case at the moment, doesn't it? Harding is building a few cars' lengths advantage over a very defensive Tom Roach. Tom is looking in his mirrors more than he's focusing out front, so I think that he has decided his priority in this race is to make sure he beats Luke Herbert, and if there is a way of maybe enticing some of the cars behind him to join in the fun as well, then for sure Tom Roach will do that and try and get as many cars between himself and Luke as possible. 13 points doesn't sound like that much of a deficit, but when there are only 2-point increments between each place on the track, it can take quite a while to regain those points. Here's a nice battle going on between Gary Townsend and Will Sharp. Turning through the right-hander at the banking. Alex King is the other yellow car just behind, so all the yellow cars getting themselves together just towards the back end of the top 20 here. No moves made for the time being. Head through Church Corner though, and back down the school straight, which is anything but straight. There are two distinct right-hand kinks in the middle of it. This is the first one. Oh, as in front of them, bit of chopping and changing going on. Alistair Keller there losing a place, perhaps having just run wide. There is the second kink, which is a pretty substantial one just before they hit the brakes into Rocket, which is where the leaders have just exited. Top three stay the same order, but for fourth place, I think I spotted Liam Murphy going past Ben Short there. Yeah, yes, I think he has, but Ben may be coming back at him as Luke Herbert comes back at Tom Roach here, in towards the left-hander at Siemens. Backed out of that one. Now for Luke Herbert, his priority isn't necessarily to beat Tom Roach at all costs, because he does have these 13 points in hand. He doesn't need to take a massive risk here and maybe end up getting involved in contact, which could lead to a penalty or a damaged car, or at the very least losing more positions. He can finish in third place behind Tom Roach here quite happily. But if he thinks that Tom Roach is going to start playing some games here and trying to hold him up and back him into the pack, then you can forgive Luke Herbert for maybe feeling a little bit more edgy to find a way through. Certainly Roach looks defensive at the moment, but that may just be genuine defensive driving, trying to keep Herbert at bay. At the moment they've got a bit of breathing space over Liam Murphy in fourth, but Liam will be trying to bridge the gap, and if he can do, he'll be bringing some friends with him, because that's a four-way fight for third between Murphy, Short, Greensmith and Richard Wickham. Good to see Richard Wickham back at the front of the field. Oh, that's George Grant, the series sponsor, going a bit slowly, and that may have just held up Tom Roach slightly, because you saw he had to go really defensive then into Church Corner. Church is the fastest corner on the track, and as a result, if you go in there on a tight defensive line, it kills your momentum all the way up the back straight. It's often into a headwind as well up the stall straight, and it's uphill. Momentum is king, and you can see that that has hurt Tom Roach, because Herbert drags himself alongside. He's trying to go around the outside through the first part of Rocket. Roach is always going to show him the edge of the road though, and Luke Herbert again very sensible there, backed out of the move, did not want to risk that ending in contact and perhaps ruining his whole race. And of course you start race 2 where you finish race 1, so a non-finish here can completely ruin your weekend because you end up then at the back of the grid for race 2, and that's where often all of the trouble can be. So Luke Herbert really has to drive with his head here. He's in a very difficult position, but if he can just play it safe and keep it calm and collected, there's no reason why he can't pick up some solid points from this race. Even if he has to give up a couple of places, he's still fighting though. He's up the inside of Roach into the hairpin, and this time Roach leaves him space on the inside line. So can Herbert do it this time around? He's got a good exit from the corner, but the next corner is a left-hander, and he is on the right-hand side of the road. So unless he risks going right round the outside at the final turn, I think he's probably going to have to duck back in line. Let's see. He is late on the brakes. He's got his nose ahead on the way into the turn, but I think he was preparing there to let Roach have the corner. Let's see as they head down towards turn 1 again. There are Richard Wickland and Johnny Greensmith, but they're ahead of the group. Yes, it's still the green Blendini car. So number 25, Tom Roach, hangs on to second position, but certainly does not seem to be having it all his own way, does he? Down at the banking again. We're now approaching mid-race distance, and you can see there Roach really holding up Luke Herbert, whether intentionally or not. It is backing Herbert into Murphy and Ben Short. Further back, they're 3 abreast as George Grant goes a lap down to a few of the midfield runners, but Luke Herbert will be getting very toey here to try and find a way through. He's in the hornet's nest now, isn't he? He's got cars all around him, and this is not what the championship leader wants. It's all starting to build up to a real crescendo here at Anglesey. The first race of the weekend is going to be a very, very dramatic second half of it, I think. Hello and welcome back. Anglesey, the venue for this weekend's Mazda MX-5 SuperCup racing, and this is the battling that's going on for second place. And since you've been away, we've had a little bit of shuffling around. Liam Murphy has managed to get himself ahead of both Tom Roach and Luke Herbert. Now Liam, remember, is third place in the championship behind those two drivers, but he's some way back, so really he's just going for good results now, doesn't really have to think about points too much. Roach is still ahead of Herbert though, so as far as Tom Roach's race is concerned, things are still going okay, but he'd rather he had Liam Murphy between himself and Luke Herbert rather than ahead of the pair of them. There's Richard Wickland still at the tail end of this group, chasing down Johnny Greensmith as Luke Herbert is really starting to attack Tom Roach. Now, in the first part of the race, we saw that it was Roach who was defending his second place and backing Herbert up into the rest of the pack. Well, now Roach is attacking Liam Murphy. Murphy is driving defensively, that's holding Roach up and allowing Luke Herbert to attack him. So it's funny the way these things can turn around as the race goes on. The race develops sometimes in your favour, sometimes not in your favour, and it looks like at this stage of the race, Luke Herbert, who all race long, it must be said, has looked a bit quicker than Tom Roach, but he now looks maybe a bit more likely to apply the pressure and find a way through. Down towards the hairpin we go at the end of the Tom Price straight. Liam Murphy second. I remind you that this group are all some way behind the race leader Jack Hardy, who's pulled out quite a comfortable lead in the number 43 car. You just see him in the distance, the white and blue machine. Liam Murphy now into second, Roach third, Herbert fourth, Ben Short fifth, Johnny Greensmith sixth, with Richard Wickland all over him in seventh place, looking to try and get past down towards the hairpins, down towards the bus stop, sorry. So too is Luke Herbert trying to find a way past Tom Roach. Couldn't get up the inside on the way into the final turn, so he cuts back and tries to get the late apex, but it's hard to get the switchback manoeuvre through that last corner because, unlike a few corners here at Anglesey, it has quite a big crest on the apex. You can't really see it from that camera angle, but as you go over that crest, the front of the car goes light, and the car wants to understeer wide rather than cut back to the late apex. So it is quite hard to do the over-under switchback manoeuvre and then get the inside line for turn 1. That was what Herbert was trying, but in the end, as you saw, it didn't quite pan out. Getting a look here at some of the cars further back down the order. There goes George Grant, he's a lap down, but still going. And this is the battle that was going on earlier on between the yellow cars, and it's all gone wrong. Oh no, Will Sharp into the tyre wall along with Alex King. Well, they've both been having a great race-long dice with Gary Townsend, and the three of them arrived at the first corner then, absolutely together, and unfortunately 3 into 1 simply wouldn't go. Now look at this, Luke Herbert's got past Tom Roach, and critically, so too has Ben Short. So what's happened there? Tom Roach has lost not 1 but 2 places, and crucially, rather than him having a couple of cars between himself and Herbert, Herbert now has got Ben Short between him and Roach. So suddenly this race and the championship situation swings back in the favour of the championship leader Luke Herbert. We didn't see what happened, but somewhere along the line Tom Roach has lost lots of ground. He's now down in 5th place whilst Luke Herbert's in 3rd. Further back Richard Wickland was all out of shape, and so Nick Dunn might be able to find a way past him as well. That's for 7th position, but the real drama is just up the road from them. Here are that trio dicing over what is now 3rd place, and Tom Roach has a lot of work to do and not that much time left to do it. We're well into the second half of the race now, into the final few minutes. Further back we can see that the white car of Nick Dunn is indeed now ahead of Richard Wickham, whilst Aidan Hills is doing battle just behind as well, trying to hang on to a top 10 place. But real drama here at Anglesey late in the going. Now the yellow flags at the first corner at target. Have Alex King and Will Sharp been able to continue? Looks like, well, Will Sharp has, but Alex King's car still embedded in the tyre wall. Now, can Tom Roach get back past Ben Short? Can Luke Herbert get another place here and get past Liam Murphy? He's certainly latched onto the tail of the number 3 car pretty quickly, hasn't he? He's in prime slipstreaming range now as they head out of church and up the school straight. So we could see Luke Herbert taking even more points out of this race. That is the sign, of course, of a true champion, isn't it? Maximising your points haul on a race that maybe wasn't going your way to start with. Here's Aidan Hills battling with the number 14 car of Jake Bailey towards the tail end of the top 10. Jake looking to the outside on the run up the hill. Sam Tatler is in the blue and green car not far behind them. And look at that, Luke Herbert is now second, so he's gone past Liam Murphy. He must have done it on the brakes into Rocket. Well, Luke Herbert has well and truly turned this race around from what looked like almost certainly he was going to lose some points to Tom Roach. He's now going to beat Roach, and if things finish as they are now, he's got 2 other cars between himself and his big championship rival. Roach doesn't really look all that likely to find a way past Ben Short, does he? Ben, if anything, is getting away from him slightly. So Luke Herbert doing everything he needs to here to extend his championship lead, and we are now very much running out of races in 2017. We're into the final 10 rounds, final few race meetings, triple headers all the way through the season, of course, though. So with this triple header race format, there's always the potential, if something goes wrong for one of these 2 championship contenders in the first race of the weekend, then it can affect the rest of the weekend. Of course, drop scores also come into play. Don't forget that once drop scores have been applied, Tom Roach is actually dropping significantly more points at the moment than Luke Herbert. So Herbert can afford a slightly iffy finish. That would affect which of the races he counted as drop score. It's all quite confusing, but it just means that drivers sort of, they have a little bit of leeway in some respects. They can afford a bad race or 2. They drop those scores, they pretend they never happened, and they don't lose too many points in the championship. So at the moment, Tom Roach is dropping slightly more points than Herbert, so Herbert can could have afforded to finish somewhere down the order in this one. It wouldn't really have affected him too much. On board here with the race leader, Jack Harding. We're making our way up towards the top of the hill at Rocket, through the left, then through the right. There is Herbert and Murphy, 2nd and 3rd, Short still 4th, Roach still 5th, 6th place is Greensmith, but Nick Dunn is coming on really strongly in the second half of the race. He's already found a way past the 76 car of Richard Wickham. He's now challenging the number 2 machine of Johnny Greensmith. Johnny, a multiple former Porsche champion. He's also won championships in Mazda MX-5s in the past, but he's never won this championship. Got to winning ways midway through last season. He won again earlier on this year. But the second half of the season hasn't quite lived up to expectations really for Johnny Greensmith. Nick Dunn, though, one of those drivers who, the more races he does in this car and in this championship, the quicker he gets. Richard Wickham using a bit more road than he ought to have done then, coming out of Siemens. That just takes the pressure off Nick Dunn. You can see that means that he has free rein to attack Greensmith however he sees fit. Out to the hairpin, down towards the left-hander at the bus stop. They come again. Jack Harding, already heading through the bus stop, is, I think, about to go on to his final lap of the race. Jack Harding crosses the line, and yes, the last lap board is hung out, and it looks to me as though really the top 5 positions are now fairly static. Tom Roach definitely is losing time to Ben Short. Luke Herbert is pulling away from Liam Murphy. So barring any mistakes or issues for these top 5, this should be the order in which they finish. It'd be great to see Jack Harding back on that top step of the podium. A little spell away from the race wins. Number 43 car though on fine form this weekend here at Anglesey. He wouldn't mind a bit of rain, I don't think, tomorrow. He's gone well in the wet before. Further back, like Liam Murphy in his attempts to try and keep up with Luke Herbert, just dipped the wheel onto the grass coming out of Church Corner, but it shouldn't hurt him too much, unless of course he gets pinged for exceeding track limits. That is one of the key areas that the clerk of course will be keeping an eye on, making sure the drivers aren't driving over the wrong side of those white lines. If you're driving anything green, you're deemed to be exceeding track limits. If you keep doing it, you'll be given a time penalty of 5 seconds, then 10 seconds, then 15, and if you keep doing it, you can be excluded altogether. But that hasn't happened to anyone thus far. It's been a a very clean race actually, generally up and down the field. Jack Harding escaped all of the battling early on, and that really was where the hard work was done. He picked his way through from, let's not forget, 5th on the grid. He got into 4th at the start and then sort of one by one picked his way through, took advantage then of Roach and Herbert doing battle, and was able to take the race lead and hasn't really looked back since. Luke Herbert is catching him on this final lap, but I think that Harding is just bringing it home really, just making sure he doesn't make any mistakes. He's got this under control, down into the final turn, no snatching of the brakes, hits the apex nicely, and Jack Harding is going to win race 1 of the weekend here at Anglesey. He takes the checkered flag, but a brilliant fighting second place for Luke Herbert, and that could prove to be really important come the season's end. Liam Murphy is 3rd, Ben Short 4th, Tom Roach can only manage 5th, and then for 6th place it is just going to be Johnny Greensmith from Nick Dunn and Richard Wicklin next in line, and then everybody else filing through. That was Jake Bailey, who got himself ahead of Aidan Hills and Sam Tatler before the end of the race, with Paul Sheard in 12th place. We believe Brian Chandler 13th. It's Jack Harding who takes the race win, but the most significant finisher in that race, Luke Herbert. Look at that, 2 cars between himself and Tom Roach. He will extend his championship margin now to something like 17 points going into the second race of the weekend. Outside the top 10, Sam Tatler, Paul Sheard, Brian Chandler, Carl Garnett and Nathan Bell round out top 15. Gary Townsend further back there in 18th place. Alan Kellen, a good run in 19th position. And our only non-finisher was Alex King after his off into the tyre wall. Remarkably, Will Sharp was able to rejoin and still didn't finish last. He managed to finish in 24th position.
Jack, a busy first couple of laps, but then after that you walked away with it.
Yeah, in qualifying we qualified P5 a second off a pole, so it was looking very doubtful to get the win. I was aiming for a 2nd or a 3rd in that, but we made a change to the car. It's absolutely transformed it. First few laps I just knew I needed to get past Tom. I made a good move into the last corner, got past him, and then just had to get my head down after that and just try and get a gap while they were battling.
Were you keeping an eye in the mirror about what was happening behind, or just focusing on keeping the lead?
I was at first, and I kept messing up, so I thought I'd better just concentrate. I sort of like adjusted my mirror and just carried on. And then towards the end, I knew it was getting towards the end, so I looked in my mirror, saw Luke had got through, but I'd backed it off a little bit by then, and Luke started catching me up, but I had it under control, so it was all good. So yeah, just like to say thank you to Yorkshire Trade Windows, my main sponsor, and ITG.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations once again. Look forward to speaking to you after the next race.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Luke, you don't like making racing easy, do you?
No, I mean, if pole position, what does that mean? Got a good start into the lead, and then up that back straight with this wind coming down that straight. If someone's in your toe, my God, do you know about it? And I could go left or I could go right, and I had to defend against Tom one way. I thought right was a sensible option to cut him off into the right hander after the left, but Tom being Tom, super late on the brakes, and then I just got forced wide. Robin's racing it at the end of the day, makes it interesting. But yeah, then good race.
Liam, I would ask you to sum up that race in as few words as possible, but I don't think you can do that. It was such a bonkers race.
No, that's it. I think I was down to 5th or 6th on the start, so made it difficult for myself to start. We've got hung out to dry around the hairpin. But yeah, with Tom and Luke, I knew something was going to give. So best thing was to do was just sit there and then hope to keep Ben behind. And then, thank God, they went wide for me. Then I couldn't quite hold into that second as the car had gone off. So yeah, we're quite happy with that. Just a good start to the weekend. Just hopefully build on that for tomorrow.
As you can see, conditions here at Anglesey have changed completely for the second race in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Gone is the sun, and we're now facing torrential downpour. Jack Harding on pole position. It's going to be interesting to see what happens behind, as it's the first time the cars are going to be racing in these conditions. Andy, it's over to you for the rest of the grid.
Yes, this is going to be an interesting one, I think. Appalling conditions, quite frankly, here at Anglesey. There's no nicer place in the world to be on a nice sunny day, but it is quite grim when the weather turns like this. They start this one how they finished the first race, so it's Jack Harding, our race 1 winner, on pole position. Championship leader Luke Herbert alongside him. Liam Murphy and Ben Short, row 2. Tom Roach has to beat Luke Herbert in this race, you feel. He'll have to do it from the 3rd row alongside Johnny Greensmith, Nick Dunn and Richard Wicklin, row 4. Jake Bailey and Aidan Hills, the 5th row, then Sam Tatler and Paul Sheard, Brian Chandler and Carl Garnett. Nathan Bell had a 5-second time penalty in the first race, which dropped him down the order. That was as a result of exceeding the track limits. We has Simon Fleet alongside him, then Alec Livesley and Gary Townsend, Alistair Kellett and Jeremy Crook round up the top 20, Steve Dolman and Alex Miller are next, then Greg Catton and Will Sharp with a repaired car after his race 1 accident at the first corner. Then it's Duncan Harris and Steve Boyle, Simon Orange and Oliver Payne with George Grant and Alex King at the back. Alex King, of course, the other driver involved, with Will Sharp down at the first corner. Well, that was some way into the race that accident happened. The first corner, we could see some incidents here on the very first lap of the race because the conditions are treacherous, and as Lloyd quite rightly said, they haven't raced in these conditions here yet this weekend. Red lights on, they go out now, away we go. Can Luke Herbert snatch the lead away from Jack Harding on the run down towards the first corner and get himself out of the ball of spray that will be chasing those leading cars? Yes, he can. Herbert grabs the lead, and Ben Short has come through into second place. Brilliant start from him. Tom Roach, though, coming through into third place if he can. Tom is a bit of a rainmeister in these cars. We know that he will be very, very happy indeed to see the weather turning for this second race, and he'll be hoping for race 3 as well, because in the wet there are a few quicker than Tom Roach. Everyone safely into the hairpin banking and all safely out the other side, which is good to see. But out of Church Corner they slip and slide already. Herbert is getting away. Ben Short is there in second place. Tom Roach has already had contact with someone, look, because his left hand side wing mirror has been folded in, but he won't be looking in the mirrors. He's only focusing on going forwards here, and he wants to try and take second place away here from Ben Short. He's supremely late on the brakes in towards Rocket Corner, and Roach is going through, is he? They're side by side. The grip is on the outside line in the wet though, so Short hangs on for now, but then it's Roach on the outside line through the right hand pass of Rocket, and look at the mid corner speed he can take. It's just about enough to keep himself alongside, and he's got the outside line again for Peel. The inside line where all the rubber has been laid down in the dry is not the grippiest part of the track in the wet, and look at the exit speed there from Roach. He's going to go right around the outside of Short and get the inside line down towards the left-hander at Siemens. He's going to go through surely, and Tom Roach, with a beautifully executed first lap here of race number 2, has worked his way through from 5th on the grid to 2nd place already. This, remember, is exactly what Jack Harding did in the first race, came from 5th to 2nd in a lap and then picked his moment to take the lead away from it was Luke Herbert at the time, down into the final corner. And so Tom Roach trying to recreate what Jack Harding did in race 1, but it is his championship rival Luke Herbert ahead of him. No one anywhere near the racing line on the way into the braking zone at the bus stop. Then at the last second, Herbert ducks out to the outside of the track to get the optimum line through the left-hander. They're Short in 3rd. Jack Harding then has been slightly mugged here after a poor start, down to 4th. 5th place is Johnny Greensmith by the looks of it, the grey car with the orange flash. And then I think Richard Wicklund peering through the gloom, was next up. Yes, he was. Then Liam Murphy. Then it is Aidan Hills with possibly Brian Chandler in behind him. Now Brian is pretty handy in the wet as well, so he could be on for one of his best finishes if he can keep it on the island. That in itself though is not that easy to do, it must be said. Back out of the banking down towards Church Corner. Herbert getting away here from Tom Roach in 2nd and everyone else fighting over 3rd. So we need to watch the lap times now, watch that gap between the top 2. Can Tom Roach close in and overhaul Luke Herbert? It looks unlikely that any other cars are going to be able to get past Luke Herbert, so the chances of sort of taking big points out of Luke are maybe a bit slim in this one, but Roach will certainly give it his all. Onto the brakes they go at the top of the hill. There's Murphy almost pushing Richard Wicklund through the first part of Rocket, and then the right hand part of the Rocket complex, the 180 degree right hander, and Liam Murphy trying to get a bit of a switch back there, but you can see as soon as he got onto the inside line there, the rear end of the car twitched, he lost traction, he lost grip, he lost momentum, and just couldn't quite make it stick. Through Peel, no one anywhere near the apex through there though, as Roach is definitely catching Luke Herbert. And I might just have to correct my comment from a moment ago where I didn't think that anyone else would be able to go with Tom Roach here, but Ben Short has. So Ben Short sticking with Roach. We could soon have 3 cars for the race lead, and in fact it already is side by side for the race lead. Look, Tom Roach going to the outside line down towards the hairpin. Now, can he go right around the outside? Well, he runs out of road completely actually on the way into the corner, but his exit speed could be a bit better than Luke Herbert's. No, it's not enough to get himself alongside. Down the hill towards the final turn, Luke Herbert defending the inside. He has no choice but to do so because he knows that Tom Roach will be on full attack mode here. By my rough maths, there are now about 17 points between the two of them. It was 13 coming into this weekend. Roach needs to try and do something about that. Down towards turn 1 they go again. Roach flicks it through the left-hander. Liam Murphy there, side by side further back, as Roach still hasn't found a way past Luke Herbert. He's still got a bit of a gap though over Ben Short, so he doesn't have to worry about defending just yet. Look at the speed out of the corner, but look at the conditions. Visibility very poor indeed. Now back down towards the final corner come the leading three, and it is Roach still. Roach now into the lead, excuse me. So Tom Roach has found a way past Luke Herbert. We didn't see where that happened, but Tom Roach has now found his way into the race lead. He's pulling a bit of a gap already over Herbert in second place. Ben Short still there in third. Fourth place is some way back now, and that appears to be the Jack Harding and Liam Murphy scrap, but we'll try and catch up with them in a moment or two. They are so far back you can hardly see them, but it is still, I think, Jack Harding just about in fourth place, but Tom Roach crucially has the lead now. Whereas in the first race, I think Tom maybe was trying a bit of gamesmanship to try and get some cars between himself and Luke Herbert. In this one, in these conditions, that just isn't sensible. The best option here for Tom Roach is to simply pull away, get as far away from Luke Herbert as possible, and let the cards fall where they may. At the moment, Ben Short not really putting Herbert under too much pressure, but there's always a chance that as the race goes on, maybe, just maybe, Ben Short could get there and get past Luke Herbert as well and take some more points off the championship leader, but that's out of Roach's control really. Murphy, by the way, is fourth now, not Jack Harding. There is Jack Harding in fifth with Richard Wickland now trying to get that fifth place away from him through the left and the right at Rocket, and back down towards Peel, and Richard Wickland looking for an overlap there at the inside. Don't think he was going to be able to make that stick though. As we said earlier on in the race, the grip is on the outside through there, so whilst it's very tempting to go for the gap up the inside, you'll very often find yourself with zero grip and actually losing time rather than gaining it, so you've got to resist that temptation in the wet. It really does take a unique set of skills to race in these conditions, and that's why certain drivers like Tom Roach, for example, do just seem to excel. Liam Murphy, another good driver in the wet, we've seen him have some of his best races in the past in slippery conditions. Wickland almost got the overlap again then, coming through the middle of the hairpin. This is by far the closest battle inside the top five, although for second place it's far from sorted. Luke Herbert doesn't appear even to have the pace to go after Tom Roach, who already is getting amongst some back markers as we go on to the final lap of the race, but Ben Short is close enough to worry Luke Herbert here. I think he's not close enough to force the blue number 50 car to drive defensively just yet, but he's there, he's in the mirrors, he's a constant threat, and Luke will definitely be mindful of the fact that he can't really afford to lose too many points here to Tom Roach, but a second place would still be sufficient for him to hold on to a very healthy championship lead. Back through Church they go again, and onto the back straight for the final time. It's been a bit of a calmer affair, this one, but it has, so far at least, worked out in the favour of Tom Roach. He's still, at the moment, scoring less points than Luke Herbert over the course of the weekend, but we still have a third race to go, of course, and that we expect will be in fairly similar conditions, so Roach will be feeling quite confident about that, I'd imagine, as long as he can survive the early stages of the race. If he wins this one, he'll be on pole position for that final race of the weekend. That will be making life a bit easier for him. But look at Ben Short. Ben Short has really closed in now on Luke Herbert as they turn their way through Peel. There's only really probably two more overtaking opportunities. The next corner at Siemens is very difficult to pass because it's very steep downhill and a braking look, but then when they get down at the hairpin there is a chance maybe that Ben Short could find a way through there, or even into the bus stop at the end of the lap. So we need to focus on that fight for second place. Look how close they are. Down towards the hairpin, back out of the hairpin already is coming the race leader, and Ben Short doing everything he can here to try and find a way past Luke Herbert. Tom Roach looks good for the race win. I'm not sure that Ben Short is quite close enough really to launch an attack. He's going to have a look to the inside, more to try and distract Herbert than anything else though, and I think that Luke should hang on. Tom Roach though is going to take a very important race victory. He will narrow the gap slightly to the championship leader Luke Herbert, who just about hangs on to second place. Ben Short it is who comes home in third, and then the long wait for fourth place. In the end it was Liam Murphy in fourth, ahead of Jack Harding fifth, with Richard Wickland just denied a top five finish in sixth place. Brian Chandler did have a good race in the wet into seventh place. He got ahead of Johnny Greensmith late on down in eighth, then Jake Bailey and Carl Garnett round out the top 10. Sam Tatler's next up ahead of Alistair Kellett, Aidan Hills, Simon Orange and Paul Sheard down in 15th, then Alec Livesley, Simon Fleet, Nathan Bell, Gary Townsend and Nick Dunn round out the top 20. George Grant had a better race this time around in 21st, so too did Alex Miller, who was again finding himself battling with Will Sharp, just getting the better of him for 25th.
Tom, you seem to have found a sweet spot in these conditions.
Yeah, the car felt brilliant. It was nice and wet out there, and first wet race of the year, so it was yeah, it was good. I love it when it's wet. It's car moves around, and yeah, it's everything becomes a bit more difficult, and yeah, great fun.
Luke, a great start, but Tom really pushed you hard there.
I mean, Tom's phenomenal in the wet. I can always remember from 2012 and 2011 he was phenomenal in the wet, and to come from 5th, I thought, at the start I started to break away. I thought, this is all right. It's the first time I've driven it since 2012 in the wet, so yeah, it's a good race. I'm happy with 2nd. Ben was phenomenal at the end. I was lucky to keep him off. But I clawed 3 places on Tom yesterday. He's bought 1 back on me today. So the weekend so far is a success. We'll see how it goes in the 3rd race.
Ben, that was a thrilling race, especially the last couple of laps there. And sitting behind Tom and Luke, were you waiting for them to take each other off?
Yeah, you got that down to a T. I thought that was on the cards. Having followed them in race 1, they were getting fairly touchy-feely. So I thought with a bit of rain, it might bring that little battle to an end. It didn't. The car came strong to us at the end. BS Motorsport set it up to sort of be all right at the start, but then come strong towards the end, which it did. But I think I left it a little bit too late to put the hammer down. I tried to get past Luke into the last corner bit. I didn't manage it.
Well, the appalling weather shows no sign of letting up here at Anglesey as the cars get ready to go out for race 3 of the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Tom Roach on pole position, but Luke Herbert in 2nd is going to be trying to take that win off of him. It's over to Andy to take you through the rest of the grid.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. Go and find yourself somewhere warm and dry to sit and watch this one, because the conditions are about the same as they were for race 2. Not very nice. Tom Roach and Luke Herbert, though, that's a nice prospect. The top 2 in the championship again start on the front row, with Ben Short and Liam Murphy row 2, Jack Harding and Richard Wickland, Brian Chandler and Johnny Greensmith next up. Keep an eye on Brian Chandler, could be on for a good result in this one. Jake Bailey and Carl Garnett round out the top 10, ahead of Sam Tatler, Alistair Kellett, Aidan Hill, Simon Orange. Paul Sheard languishing down in 15th in race 2. I don't know why, perhaps he didn't quite have the right setup for the conditions. He may well move forward in this one. The series sponsor there, the Clapham North MOT and Service liveried car of George Grant, improving steadily this weekend, 21st in race number 2. The cars continue all the way down to 30th place. Greg Catton was our only non-finisher, remarkably, in the first race of the day. He'll be looking to improve in the last encounter. So round 18 of the championship, Tom Roach needs to do exactly what he did in race 1, beat Luke Herbert, hope a few cars get between the two of them. What sort of games will Roach play in this one, maybe? It was interesting to hear from Ben Short after the second race, wasn't it, that he expected those two might even take each other out. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope we get some good clean racing as for the final time this weekend. The lights go out, we're away. Good start looks to have been made there from the 3rd row by Richard Wickland, but he's got nowhere to go with it. Down towards the first corner they go. They're all the way safely, and who will come out of turn 1 ahead? Is it Roach? Is it Herbert? It is Roach, with Luke Herbert immediately having to fend off 3 or 4 cars. Richard Wickland, Liam Murphy and Ben Short all together. Johnny Greensmith in there as well. Herbert runs a bit wide. That opens the door on the inside for Wickland. This is not the start of the race that Luke Herbert needed. He wants to get himself in some clean air and just sort of follow Tom Roach in the early stages. He's really having to fight a rearguard action though here. He is just about hanging on to 2nd, I think, as they slip and slide their way through Church for the first time. Jack Harding's gone backwards. He's plummeting down the order. He's behind Brian Chandler now as well. He's at risk of falling out of the top 10 if he's not too careful, but it is Roach that leads the way. Herbert 2nd, Liam Murphy in 3rd, who will be keen to try and get himself into 2nd if he can. He won't care that it's the championship leader he's dicing with. Onto the brakes they go. Understeer there for Luke Herbert on the way in as they went over the crest. Wickland is there in 4th, Ben Short down to 5th, but looks up the inside of the silver car, who in turn looks up the inside of Liam Murphy. They did well there not to trade any paint. Out of the corner they go. They stay in the same sort of order. Who's next in line? That's Brian Chandler and Johnny Greensmith side by side by the looks of it. Back through the through the right-hander appeal they go. Look at the lead that Tom Roach has pulled out. All of the battling behind has just allowed him to check out, and he is looking good for maybe his 2nd win of the weekend. For 2nd place, it's anyone's guess though. They're all absolutely together. Luke Herbert has managed to fend them all off though, which is important because now he is building a small gap over Murphy, Wickland and Ben Short. They battle away for 3rd place. Ben Short looking up the inside of Wickland into the hairpin. Oh, and Wickland in turn goes up the inside of Liam Murphy. The 3 of them meet in the middle. Do they make contact? They just lean on each other slightly, and Ben Short makes 2 places in 1. What a brilliant bit of racecraft that was from Ben Short. He went up the inside of Wickland. Wickland attacked Liam Murphy, and it was Short that came out on top. So he's into 3rd. Murphy and Wickland now still wheel to wheel for 4th place. Wickland on the outside, but that is the grippier side of the road. Does Murphy give him room on the exit of the corner? Not really, and so Murphy will hang on to 4th. In fact, that really did lose Wickland momentum, and he tried to get across then to defend from a very agitated Brian Chandler. Chandler was up the inside and had to really check up to avoid contact. He's got his hand out of the cockpit now, in fact, so he may even have an an issue with the car, but that was very close indeed. Yes, Brian Chandler, well, what a shame. I thought he might have been on for a good result in this race, but he is grinding to a halt and appears to be out of the race. Now, there is Jack Harding. What is Jack Harding doing? Way down towards about 10th place at the moment. He is losing ground hand over fist in the early part of the race. It's Jake Bailey, the black car, that he's racing with at the moment, and Jake has just gone through. So Jack Harding, who admittedly did seem to struggle slightly in the slippery conditions in the second race, having won the first race fairly comfortably in the dry weather, maybe just doesn't quite have the wet weather set up where he needs it. The conditions are near identical to what they were in race number 2, maybe a touch wetter, but that will make little difference. The cars should feel pretty much the same as they did in race 2, and Jack, if they've made some setup tweaks to the cars, if anything, it's made it worse rather than better. Carl Garnett is the car behind him, and then Sam Tatler. Jake Bailey there, dark blue, almost blackish number 14 car. Well, Tom Roach is going to have a very lonely race at this rate, because if what we saw in race 2 is anything to go by, he's probably got the pace to actually extend that lead margin even further over Luke Herbert, who's looking a bit more comfortable now in second place. There is Jake Bailey, having got past Jack Harding, he's now closing in on Johnny Greensmith. So Jake Bailey, conversely, looking really good in the wet here. Jake was 9th place in both of the first 2 races, in fact, so looking now to try and get his best result of the weekend. And Johnny Greensmith nearly ran right out to the edge of the track, but that's the way you've got to do it through that hairpin. You go in very wide on the way in, get the traction, get the car to turn in through the apex, and then get on the power as hard and as early as you dare to try and propel yourself down the back straight towards the bus stop, the final corner. There's Carl Garnett, Sam Tatler and Aidan Hills in number 80 car. Aidan was running quite well at the start of race 1 before dropping down to 10th. His second race was not any better. He was 13th place, in fact, in race 2. And he's running about there at the moment in this third race as well. So Aidan Hill's weekend has suffered slightly as a result of the poor weather. Back through the first corner they go, and in towards the banking yet again. Carl Garnett continuing to have a really solid season, into 10th place in the championship coming into this weekend. He was 14th in race 1, he was 10th in race 2 though, and he's looking for another top 10 finish here in this one. Back with Liam Murphy and Richard Wicklin here as they turn their way through Rocket. This battle still raging on for 4th position. Still the same order in the top 3. Roach from Herbert from short. And here is the 4th place squad, Liam Murphy and Richard Wicklin. Richard, who has been a bit anonymous really through the mid part of the season after a strong showing early on. He has now dropped outside of the top 10 in points, so really for him it's just all about trying to recapture the spark that he had not only at the start of this season but at the end of last season. So he'll be quite looking forward, I think, to the final few rounds coming up in 2017 at circuits that he ran well at a year ago. Maybe looking for a couple of race wins along the way. There's no reason why he couldn't do that. Closing in on Murphy again as they come out of the hairpin. This one of the closest battles inside the top 10 now, and Liam Murphy looking a bit vulnerable here. Richard Wicklin looks the quicker of the two. He's looking to the inside now in towards the bus stop, but not really close enough to make that one stick. So instead he cuts well out wide to the edge of the track to try and find some grip across the start-finish line and on to the final lap of the race. Tom Roach has been completely uncontested in this race. He's going to take another race victory, and by my rudimentary maths, if things finish as they are now, which at least for he and Luke Herbert, that looks to be the way it will finish, with Roach in the lead with the win and Luke Herbert in second place, I reckon they'll go back to pretty much exactly the same sort of gap between them in the points that they had coming into this weekend. It was 13 points the difference in Luke Herbert's favour coming into the Anglesey triple header. If they finish as they are now, there'll be 14 points between them in Luke Herbert's favour, so Luke will have gained 1 point. A lot of hard work, isn't it, really, to gain 1 point in the championship, but despite the fact that Tom Roach looks like he's going to beat Luke Herbert in 2 of the 3 races, it's only going to be by 1 position in each. Of course, Luke had 2 cars between himself and Roach in the first race. So, and also the fastest lap in the first race for Luke Herbert has helped him on his way too. So through Peel comes Tom Roach for the final time. The rain has abated slightly, but the conditions have certainly not improved all that much, have they? And Tom Roach making his way through the left-hander at Fisherman's, has only 2 more corners to go. Open top cars, of course, these MX-5 SuperCups, so the drivers will get out looking rather wet and miserable, but Tom Roach, I think, will be pretty happy actually with his afternoon's work. 2 race victories from 3, And okay, he's lost a point to the championship leader over the course of the weekend, but it's only a point, and he'll still definitely feel that 14 points is achievable over the remaining few races of the year. Down towards the final corner he comes. Tom Roach proving yet again that he is the Rainmeister of the Mazda MX-5 SuperCup, turns his way towards the start finish line and wins round number 18 of the 2017 Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Second place though, racking up the points, will be Luke Herbert. A really solid weekend for him. He's done everything he needed to do. Third place for Ben Short, just ahead of Liam Murphy and Richard Wickland. Those two really caught the 68 machine towards the end of the race. It is though Tom Roach that takes the victory. Second for Luke Herbert, third Ben Short, fourth Liam Murphy and fifth Richard Wickland. Greensmith is sixth, Jake Bailey is seventh, Jack Harding down in eighth in the end, ahead of Aidan Hills and Sam Tatler rounding out the top 10. Then it's Carl Garnett, Paul Sheard improved to 12th from 15th on the grid, ahead of Nathan Bell, Alistair Kellett and Gary Townsend. Will Sharp gets his first top 20 of the weekend there in 20th position, and we lost in the slippery conditions, perhaps surprisingly. Jeremy Crook, Brian Chandler and Greg Catton didn't even make the start. So what has that done to the championship? Well, as I suspected, 14 points now the difference. Tom Roach still within striking distance with still 6 races to go. Liam Murphy now very distant third. Johnny Greensmith now only 5 points though ahead of Jack Harding for fourth.
Tom, as Meatloaf once sang, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Yeah, great day today. Love it in the rain. Got to say massive thanks to the boys at Blandini, especially Yoku, who's been getting the car ready all day. It was brilliant to drive. You know, the wet setup on it works really well, and yeah, just great fun driving around, even though it is tipping down with rain.
Luke, damage limitation today, really?
Yeah, I mean, after the pace we had yesterday in the dry, you know, it's disappointing it rained, but I mean, Tom's unstoppable in the wet. I think if it continues raining for the rest of the season, you know, he might be able to nick the championship win. But I think we've gained, you know, we've increased our lead over the weekend by 1 point. So overall, the weekend's been a success. You know, 3 seconds. Tom's had 2 wins and a fifth. So I didn't gain points, but I didn't lose points. So it's a pretty good weekend.
Ben, a really tough race out there, especially in these conditions.
Yeah, the track even changed during that race. It started to puddle up. Actually went off a couple of laps from the end because I didn't realise that there was a puddle on the line in turn 1. You might have seen that. So I was lucky to get away with it. I thought I was off, but hey, brilliant weekend, I suppose. And thanks very much to my sponsors and the team.
And importantly, you kept it on the island and looking forward to Croft.
Yeah, apart from that corner where I fell off. See you next time.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Ben.
bye.
Well, there we go. All 4 seasons in one race weekend. We hope you can join us next time when the action comes from Croft for the Mazda MX-5 SuperCups.